Hi everyone, today I'm doing a festive tutorial for this look in which I have used a really vibrant orange pigment for the eyes. Now this is a look you can easily wear with red, yellow, coral, peach, orange outfits. Starting with the makeup, I'm using a primer. This one is the Clinique Super Primer in Universal. This is a really nice primer that kind of does it all. It moisturizes, smoothens out the skin, doesn't make the skin oily, and helps the foundation last longer. I'm using this all over the face but not on the eyes. I'm just going to let the primer sink in into the skin and start with the eye makeup. The first step is primer. This is the Coastal Scents Eye Primer. Just using it all over the eye and also along the lower lash line. And this will form a nice base for the eyeshadows that I'm going to use. It will make the colors appear more intense and also prevent any premature creasing. This is not an expensive primer, but it works really well because I have slightly oily lids and eyeshadows often tend to crease on me. Next, I'm using a brown eyeshadow pencil. You can use any brown eyeliner or pencil that you want. What I'm doing is kind of creating like a structure for my eye makeup. So I've used this along my upper lash line, and then I'm applying a bit of this on the outer V of the eye. This shadow pencil is by Milani. Also using it along the waterline and lower lash line. Next, I'm using a fluffy blending brush. This is the MAC 217 brush to smudge and smoke out that brown eyeshadow. I'm also going to thicken the brown liner along the lower lash line, and then using a cotton bud, I'm going to just smudge and smoke that out. Next, I'm going to use this pigment from NYX. This is the shade Rust, and it's a really beautiful sort of very shimmery metallic orange color. What I've done is I have dipped my brush in Inglot Duraline, which is a liquid that you can use to mix in with pigments. It just converts the pigment to a liquid form, and then you can just apply it as if it was like a paint. And it also helps basically seal the color. So when you're working with pigments, if you're working with like loose pigments, there is a bit of fallout and things like that. So I always like to mix my pigments with Inglot Duraline, create like a paint like consistency, and then apply that using a brush. This just enhances the wear time and just takes away all that messiness. Next, I'm using a medium matte brown eyeshadow. This is Frappe from Makeup Geek. Using the MAC 217 brush, I'm going to apply this in the outer V of the lid and also along the crease line. And this is going to be like the transition color. You can use any medium matte brown eyeshadow for this step. Next, I'm going to take a slightly darker brown. This is Mocha, also from Makeup Geek, and I'm using this only in the outer V of the lid just to sort of intensify and darken the color there. Also using a little bit of it along the outer half of the lower lash line. Next, I'm going to use a highlighter, and this is a pigment from Makeup Forever that I've used in a lot of my tutorials earlier. It's basically a pale gold color, looks almost translucent in the tub but applies like a beautiful reflective gold color on the skin. Applied that in the inner corner and along the brow bone. I've applied a little too much on the inner corner, but I'm just going to fix that in a moment. Next, I'm going to use a liquid liner, and I'm using this new one from Maybelline. This is called the Colossal Liner. It's a felt tip line. It's got a slightly long tip, but the point of the tip, it's pretty fine, so you can do quite thin lines as well. So I'm going to do a winged liner here. I have created the wing, and then I'm just sort of connecting it with the rest of the liner. really like doing a winged liner because I've got slightly droopy eyes, and doing that upward flick sort of lifts the eye up. So it really works well for anybody who's got sort of droopy eyes like mine. Liner done, I'm going to apply a bit of mascara now. I'm using this one from Heroine Make. This is a Japanese drugstore brand. Just applying a single coat because I'm going to apply a pair of false eyelashes later. Makeup is nearly done. I'm going to come back to the face now. I'm using an orange corrector. This one is by Clinique. Just first I'm going to dot it under my eyes, around the nose and around the mouth. These are the areas where you have pigmentation, and using an orange corrector will sort of cancel out those bluish and purple shadows. To blend it, I've used a damp sponge. This is the Real Techniques Miracle Sponge. Next, I'm going to apply foundation, and today I'm using the YSL Touche Éclat foundation. This is great for slightly dry skin. My skin has been pretty dry, even though it's spring in a lot of parts of the world. It's still pretty cold here in Tokyo, so dry skin foundations are working quite well for me. This is kind of like a medium coverage, slightly high medium coverage, and it sort of covers up your spots and unevenness quite well. It stays quite well, especially with the primer underneath, and just gives a nice glow to the skin. For my under eye, I'm mixing two concealers today. I'm using the Maybelline, I forgot the name, Dream Lumi Touch concealer. This is a highlighting concealer, and I'm mixing that with a little bit of the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in Ginger, just because it has a little more coverage and the Maybelline one sort of has a more highlighting effect. Concealer is really important if you've applied kind of dark eyeshadows along the lower lash line, because if your under eye area is not concealed properly, all that dark eyeshadow on the lower lash line and the waterline is just going to make your eyes look dull. So I'm just blending out the concealers. You can see my face instantly looks a little more lifted, my eyes look brighter, and the eye makeup doesn't look as harsh anymore. To set the concealer and foundation, I'm using the Lakme Absolute Face Stylist Powder. I'm using a technique that I had learned at Clinique. Instead of using a brush, I'm using a cotton pad and just sort of pressing the powder in the areas that tend to get oily. And then the rest of the face, I'm just going to use a brush. So basically pressing the powder will give better coverage, better oil control, and also blur out the pores. Next, I'm going to use a contouring powder. This is the Sleek Contour Kit in medium. I'm using the darker color from this kit and an angled brush to apply it under my cheekbones. And this will just add a more sculpted look to my face. I'm not going too overboard with the contouring, just enough so that my cheekbones look a little more sculpted and defined. Also using this along the jawline. Next, I'm going to apply blush. I'm using this shade called Copper from NYX. It's a very neutral color. It's got a bit of gold shimmer, and it's just going to add a nice warmth to the cheeks. And I'm going to layer a second blush on top of this. This is Melba from MAC, and it's a dusty peach color, and this will just add a little more color because the other shade from NYX didn't add a lot of color. So this is the exact color I was looking for. Maybe you can just use Melba and skip Copper. Just going to add some finishing touches to my eye makeup now. First, I'm using a clean blending brush and just smoking out and blending the eyeshadow along the lower lash line, because I didn't do it after applying concealer. This is a step you should always do after concealer if you have done your eye makeup before doing your concealer, because concealer can give like a harsh line and take away that smokiness. So to maintain that smoky color, just smudge out the eyeshadows again after using a concealer. Also reapplying a bit of highlighter because that kind of got mixed in with my concealer. Also applying mascara on the lower lash line. Didn't do it earlier because I didn't want to get concealer all over my lower lashes. For the brows, I'm using the Shiseido brow powder. This is the Brow Styling Compact in the shade medium. I'm also going to add a pair of false eyelashes. These are the Naomi lashes from Ardell. I really like these. I used these on my wedding reception as well. Really full looking lashes. So the lashes are on. I've also fixed up my hair, also worn a pair of earrings, and I'm just going to do the last step, that is the lips. I'm using a nude lip liner. This is the shade Natural from NYX. This is the step where you can cheat your lip line a little bit. If your lips are thinner or thicker on one side, you can just equalize them using a nude lip liner. Also make them look a little fuller or a little smaller if you want. Just make sure to not go too beyond your natural lip line, because then it's going to look very obvious that you've overdrawn your lips. Next, I'm using a pale peachy coral lipstick from Lakme. This is the shade Coral Care from the 9 to 5 Creaseless Cream range. Just dabbing it all over the lips. I don't want my lips looking dry, so I'm just going to add a little bit of gloss. This is the shade Peach by NYX. Really pretty soft peach color, not too pigmented, just goes in perfectly with the lip color I'm trying to get. I feel my lips are looking a little bit pale, so I'm just going to mix in another lip color. I've mixed a little bit of red lipstick using a brush, and the color I used is Runway Red from the Lakme Absolute Creme lipstick range. Really beautiful brick red color. And I've just applied it with a tiny brush, just mixed in with the peach color I already had on my lips, and I think this just sort of works better. Last step is always highlighter. Never forget to use highlighter on your cheekbones. This will just give you that gorgeous glow in pictures. I'm using the Bobbi Brown Shimmer Brick in the shade Bronze. You can use any sort of warm highlighter. I think it goes really well with Indian wear and festive looks. And this is the finished makeup, a shimmery metallic orange eye with an understated lip and really glowy cheeks. Since I always get questions about my nail polish, I'm wearing this coral color. Shade number is 405 from Rimmel. I've been getting some questions about also mentioning like what colors of outfits you can wear. So this makeup goes really well with the red. I'm wearing a red here. Also with the yellow, peach, coral, orange, all those warm sunny kind of colors. It'll just go in perfectly with those. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, please subscribe to my channel. You can also enter my ongoing giveaway. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be back soon with another video. Bye.